Yes, I'm Bill, and my travelling colleague was John Phillips. We had a Hyundai 2020 Ioniq with a 38 kilowatt hour battery and 270 kilometres. I bought that in late 2019, so it's a 2020 model, and I planned to travel in the winter of 2020, but along came COVID. So a good friend of mine started drawing up modified maps. First of all, the Northern Territory was cut out, and then Queensland shut its borders, and then West Australia and South Australia, they shut their borders. And so my trip just got smaller and smaller and smaller. And finally I said, you are here, bloody well stay here. So I wait. And I planned for 2 years because I wanted to travel in winter time in Northern Australia. Even though I'm a Queenslander, the heat in Northern Australia in the winter summer scares the hell out of me. Now, there I am. I've got my toilet paper, I've got my COVID tests, I've got my maps, I've got everything. That was me for 2 years. Now, this is the kit that I took along. 10 amp granny charger, 15 amp granny charger, a 3-phase 32 amp charger, level 2 charger. I used all of them. And this is what I should have taken, these other two items, but I didn't have. The 20 amp portable EVSE, I could have used that about 3 or 4 times. But by not having it, I had to default to the 15 amp or the 10 amp. And this from Peter Lyons, he's got this little Tesla tap, this little gadget which enables, as you know, some Tesla destination chargers are promiscuous, to use Peter Campbell's word, and any electric car can use them, but not all of them. And those that are not, those that are set to Tesla only, can be accessed by non-Tesla cars with this little gadget here. Thank you very much, Peter Lyons. Now, all road trips begin with plug share. The black line is the trip that I actually took. Now, people, before anyone says, why didn't you go up the Queensland coast?
Why didn't you go up the Queensland coast, Bill?
Thank you, Peter. The reason I didn't go up the Queensland coast was I had been up the year before. I drove up to the Daintree, and that was a breeze. DC charges the entire way. There wasn't a break. I only had to wait twice.
You wanted more of a challenge.
Well, because I didn't want to go over the same ground. So I looked on PlugShare and I plotted this little track up through here, and I thought that looks fun. So off I went. So this is a cleaned up version. The orange bits are where you find DC. And the rest of it, which is just New South Wales, and a little chunk on the Nullarbor, which we'll get to in a few minutes. The rest of it is AC, which stands for actually crazy. Now, this is the last of the DC chargers at Burke, and it was broken down. They had this crazy little, this is an insert here of what's there. It had this thing, pay something. So the local vandals had assumed that that's where you put money in, and so they'd smashed both of them in and disabled the chargers. It was a case of very bad design. So we were forced to overnight in this 1960s Riverside hotel, and that's me, Lord Gresham, in the street poster. And it really was absolutely brilliant. I've never stayed there quite as quaint as that. But it had a promiscuous Tesla charger there and the solar panels on the roof. So all good. Okay, cross back into Queensland, my home state. Now this is Cunnamulla. Who's been to Cunnamulla? Cunnamulla, I'm using that as a case study of the craziness that happens. If you look on the top side, there's a little bit out of PlugShare. It says 3-phase socket, 2 meters up a pole, bring a chair. So the previous person who'd been there had in fact brought a chair. And he climbed up and he plugged in and all was good. When I got there, I found the pole had been sliced off with a chainsaw. And there was the three-phase socket. But fortunately, you'll see besides the sawn-off post is a new post with a three-phase socket and a 15-amp socket. And they had 20 of these. None of them are working because they haven't been hooked up yet. So we did find another 15-amp socket in the showgrounds, plugged in, and then it had a number in Facebook that you ring and ask to use them. Rang the number several times and talked to a tape recorder in all cases. So I walked 2 miles, 2 kilometres into town to the council chambers and asked if this person was there because I thought maybe they would be. And they said, no, that's Show Society, nothing to do with the council. But she is not in town because she's my friend. This is the lady at the front desk in the council chambers. I was talking to her an hour and a half ago on the mobile and it dropped out, which means she's heading out of town, so you won't see her today. Just use the damn thing. So I did. But that's you know, when you arrive at a place, you don't know whether somebody's going to say, oh yes, just use the plug in the laundry, or you're going to get a full Monty Python skit. This is Tambo, famous for 2 things: the teddies, the Tambo teddies. For the ladies of the town, who's heard of Tambo teddies? The ladies of the town got together during a wool. It was an overproduction actually, and the price had gone down and it was not worth selling. So they got together and started a teddy manufacturing plant using the surplus wool. And they sell online, they've gone worldwide, they have a factory in Brisbane. Great story. Second thing it's famous for was the fatal Qantas crash in 1927. Now, if you've heard that Qantas has never had a fatal crash, it's bullshit. And I know because the gentleman in the middle is my grandfather. And he was killed right there in 1927 in a Qantas crash. But they also have coloured tip races. And then off I set to Mount Isa, and I got a horrible toothache. It was unbelievable. So I went straight to the Mount Isa Base Hospital, to the emergency section, and that is not the Mount Isa Base Hospital emergency section. That is something that's right outside the Mount Isa Base Hospital. 2 minutes walk from their front door, you go down a hole into a hill, and you find this. And it was produced during the Second World War. When Darwin got bombed by the Japanese, they freaked out and built this. Now we're moving to the Northern Territory, and I celebrated my 76th birthday driving across the Barkly Tableland. It's like a mini Nullarbor. This is at Elliot. We went to the 3 ways where you join onto the north-south highway down the centre of the territory. And then the next town on is Elliot. And I put that in because I wanted to show the little tent bed that I used. And where it wasn't cold, i.e. the whole of Northern Australia, I just slept beside the car. And that little insert shows the arrangement. You don't have to get down on the ground. And if you're 76, you don't want to get down on the ground because you might get up again. And this is Daily Waters. Well, here's me to Daily Waters. It's a crazy place. That really is a helicopter up there. And in the shed, they've got an Australian Navy jet fighter plane. I don't know whether the Navy knows about this. And there it is with the AEVA logo on it. And like a lot of places, they didn't want money. I mean, I should have paid about almost $2,000 if you work out the number of kilometres I charged by the amount of the cost of electricity. But instead of 2,000, I paid about 3,000 because most places just said, no, she'll be right. It's crazy. It won't last for long once a lot of people start travelling.
Do they have solar panels?
Sorry?
Did they have solar panels?
So we have solar.
I'm not sure, and I didn't check every place, but I think just over about half the places I went to did or had, like in New South Wales, they buy green power. So here we are. We've arrived in Western Australia. We went up to Katherine and then west from Katherine and hit the border just before Kununurra. And in answer to your question, the border post itself had its own little, that's owned by the West Australians, had its own little solar farm. And the West Australian government putting in 1,000 of these little remote area stations for their customers who are might be mines or cattle stations or indigenous settlements and even roadhouses. That's the baobab trees. And the Kimberleys is quite, you know, it's like nothing else in Australia. The scenery is absolutely remarkable, brilliant. Red dust and the red dirt and the baobabs. I mean, where else in Australia has scenery like that? Not even Central Australia. It's different again. Here we are, the Lake Argyle on the Ord River. It's many times bigger than that, but you can't see the whole thing. But they've got a hydro plant. They have irrigated agriculture, but they also have a hydro plant which supplies the area. So there we are, another bit of green power. And now we're at Halls Creek, and we have a 3-phase charger put in by, I think it's Western Power. I can't read it from here. That's the West Australian Power Supply Company for outside of Perth. And here we are, Cable Beach in Broome. Who's been to Broome? Oh, good. Broome was my favourite place on the whole trip. It's absolutely lovely. And Cable Beach, absolutely brilliant. Half the town were down there having their picnics on the beach. And yeah, you have a camel ride. And they have free electricity, level 2 in town. And then going down the coast at the Sandfire Roadhouse, and I believe in the summer it is hell on earth, and the name is entirely appropriate. That's the charging little post there, and my colleague John had a little blue tent. And yes, that's the camel. Can you see the camel there? He's just wandering around. He was happy. And in fact, most of the roadhouses in northern Australia seem to have attracted the peacocks. They're not indigenous. Apparently they had them at the Perth Zoo and they grew up, they bred up too much, and so they let people, whoever wanted them, have them. And the roadhouses like them because they eat snakes. Now, this is Port Hedland. Now, this saltwater crocodile here, he wouldn't stay still for the photo, so I had to jab my fingers in his eyes to hold him there.
Yeah, crocodile that day, good.
Yeah. So look at the gigantic boat, the ore carrier there. Idris, is that German written on there, or is it? It's not? I'm just trying to work out what see on the name of the boat? Burger Bock. Now, the whole town is covered in red dirt, and that guy had a soul of water, and I'm not quite sure how well it worked. But I did notice that people kept, there's a lot of PV, and people kept their PV clean, but they did not clean their water heaters. So it must have been so damn hot that they worked anyway.
Or they're just all having cold showers.
Yeah.
That's right. Probably
It's too
do.
hot, so they don't need hot water.
That's right. But what they do need, I'll go back one, in the caravan park, every spot had about, each car spot had about 3 or 4 of these steel cable anchors, a big concrete block set in the ground. And so when the cyclone comes, you wrap that around the axle of your caravan or whatever and stops it flying away. That was a kind stranger in Port Hedland. He had just put his Tesla destination charge up on, or his home charger up on PlugShare. So I contacted him and he said, yes. I rang him up and he said, yes, I'm actually on holidays in Tasmania at the moment, but just go around to my place and plug in. When you get there, ring me again and I'll send a message to my Tesla to disconnect so I can pull the cable out of his Tesla and put it in my car. You know, EV owners are good people. Port Hedland, I didn't go around the coast in West Australia. I thought that was too easy, so I struck out from Port Hedland down to Kalgoorlie, and that involved going through lots of lovely little towns, including Meekatharra. And this is a Meekatharra. I love this here. This is the trading hours for the store at the caravan park. Now, if you like all the details, you can read them there. But if you're busy and in a hurry, you can just go to the side on the other side, which is executive summary. That's at Mount Magnet. Mount Magnet, by the way, if you ever go there, has the best cultural museum I've ever seen in Australia for a small town. Absolutely brilliant. Apparently, a lot of movies like Rabbit-Proof Fence, a whole lot of movies were made around there, and they've kept all the props. And they have a gigantic shed, and all the props and stuff are still in that shed. So you can, it's really, really good. Now going further south, little town of Menzies. I had been in contact with the mayor, and he said, yes, we have a 15-amp plug outside the council chambers. Drive up, plug in, you're fine. So I drove up, plugged in, and it didn't work. But I left it in there for the photo anyway. But fortunately, I didn't need the power. I had enough to get to Kalgoorlie. Right, that's Kalgoorlie. Peter, do you remember that?
I do.
A hotel, the York Hotel. The interesting thing about that York Hotel is that they've built a deck above the awning of the shop. And you can sit there at your table and drink your martinis, whatever you do. And while you sit there, you look across the road and keep an eye on your car plugged into a free socket in the main street. Now, out across the air highway to the fearsome Nullarbor. This is at where are we now? The Balladonia Roadhouse, and you can see there's a DC charger put in. I think the AEVA and the Tesla people in West Australia were responsible for organising this, and you can charge at 20 kilowatts DC. They did charge, which is fair enough. But this is the Skylab. If you remember Skylab, it crashed, and they built a little museum on the side of the roadhouse with all the bits and pieces of Skylab they picked up in the desert. Then moving to the next roadhouse, which is Kaiguna. Now this is absolutely brilliant. They have a normal tritium charger, like we have in Canberra, and it's actually physically bolted onto the front of a big diesel genset. And the genset is run on the fish and chip oil from the roadhouse, which I think is absolutely wonderful. I didn't really expect to get 50 kilowatt charging in the middle of Nullarbor, but they did want $50 for it. And there we are. That's just a close-up shot. I regret that I didn't take a picture of the setup for the filtration of the fish and chip oil, which is at the other end of the genset. This is a fairly common way that I charged. Probably the most common was overnight with a 15 amp granny charger back into Victoria. And then I arrived at Gundagai, and I hadn't seen that many electric cars on the entire trip. But interestingly enough, I did cross paths with two, big lappers. One of them was in a Tesla, and the other one was in a Mercedes. But both parties were going the opposite direction to me. But that's my little car down the far distance. Anyone been to Gundagai lately?
Yeah.
Yeah, see the big hole.
Yeah, I mean, from the top of this hull, from the top of this ridge to the bottom of the hull was almost a metre. And you're supposed to drive in there, and 2 out of 3 of them didn't work. So, from a row of 9 chargers, there was one that I could use.
That's the one that's got Chatham on it too, so you've got to drive in sideways to get to the Chatham.
Yes, I had to drive in here, yes. Now, I didn't know when I set out that the Tesla Owners Club of West Australia keep a record of everybody who's driven around Australia in an electric car, and there it is, it's up on their website. And they sent me an email saying, congratulations, you are checker number 18. And there we are, number 18.